Hello, hello. Um, we know it's very close to the lunchtime, so I know everyone might be potentially hungry, but let's try to, we just have a very engaging session. We'd love to invite over all our speakers to the stage. Let's start with Ms. Ankita Verma for Persona, Mr. David Salamon from CoinMarketCap, Kousei Show from Pacific Meta, Mr. RugRug Pudding from KudasaiJP, and lastly, Mark Lee from SynFutures. Please join me giving the warm round of applause to these esteemed speakers. And we will be discussing about the Web3 specific user acquisition. We are users and we are builders, so love to download their insights today about both sides of this industry. So given that, why don't we start with a quick introduction about our project, about yourself? Why don't we start with Ankita?
Hello everyone, I'm Ankita. I'm the co-founder CEO of Persona. And at Persona, we are building Web3's first native ad network. So a very simple way to understand us is that we are building Google AdSense, but for Web3. So what that means is that we allow advertisers to place their ads on dApps, high quality Web3 applications like Web3 DeFi, Web3 gaming, Web3 data platforms. And we also let them target users on the basis of what's in their wallet. So that's the product. We launched it in August of 2023. And since then, we have worked with some of the biggest names like MetaMask, PayPal, Immutable, Remix. So some of the biggest names that you can think of. Before Persona, I was head of product at Amazon Web Services. And I have been investing in Bitcoin since 2015. So I have been in this space for a really long time and really rooting for the space.
Hey everybody, my name is David Solomon. I head up product at CoinMarketCap. I've been at CMC for about 2 years. I don't think I need to say what CMC is about. It's kind of the gateway to crypto for a lot of new users, and obviously a staple for a lot of crypto users around the world. Before CMC, I spent 7 years at Microsoft and then another 7 at Agoda. So I actually have been in Thailand, based here for 9 years now. I consider myself a local. It's a wonderful place to be. And I guess quick one on the origin story for me is I started mining Bitcoin back in sort of 2012, 13, and bought a bunch because I wanted to play poker online. I was living in the US and you couldn't play with fiat. And so I played online poker with my Bitcoin. Unfortunately, I suck at poker, so I lost most of it. And then a few years later was interested again and rejoined and decided to come full-time a few years ago.
So nice to meet you. I'm Kousei from Pacific Meta. I'm co-founder and also head of global BD. So Pacific Meta is basically a bridge between Japan and the rest of the world in the Web3 space. So we help international Web3 project to enter Japanese market by providing some marketing partnership with local companies and also community building stuff. And we do the same thing to a Japanese company who want to go to global. Also same provide service like marketing, including KOLs, community building, and happy to speak about user acquisition today.
Hi everyone, my name is RugRug Pudding from KudasaiJP, and thanks for having me this splendid space. I was so surprised that it's very huge space here. So what is KudasaiJP? It's a community in Japan. It's one of the biggest community in Japan right now. We have 20,000 members in Telegram, 25,000 in Discord, 19,000 followers in Twitter, and recently we started a YouTube channel and it has 10,000 registrations right now. And we help the marketing, to the most projects to get into Japan market like SynFutures. And we put an emphasis on doing the public goods like education. The recently, the number one investment bank, Komura, is publishing the Web3 educational application, and we're helping to write the article and direct the article tools. And recently, we made a subsidiary of the textile company called Omakase, like sushi omakase. And we help in aspects of the building the blockchains. So we do the validator of the many blockchains too. So personally, on my background is I have the PhD of life science, but got into the crypto from 2012. There was a rumor that my professor was building the Bitcoin, but it was just a rumor. But finally, I bought my Bitcoin at 2016. So this is my description. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Mark, partner and CMO of SynFutures. For those of you who aren't familiar, SynFutures is a permissionless perp dex. We started on the Polygon ecosystem. We're now the largest perp dex on Blast. We're doing about $1 billion, $1.2 billion a day in volume. So really exciting to see the growth of kind of the alternative chain ecosystem right now. One of the things that differentiates us is we're completely permissionless, and we're a fully on-chain order book and AMM hybrid. What this means is anyone can come and create any market on our platform. You could trade anything against anything. So think WIF against USDB, ETH against Bowden, anything you can imagine, you can launch permissionlessly on our platform. A little bit on my background, like a lot of the people probably in the audience and here as well, I started in TradFi. I worked in private equity for boutique manufacturing, and then I got into Web2 growth consulting back in like 2015, and around 2017, 2018, I specialized in emerging tech, so I started coming across blockchain technology. I got in, I realized the industry was quite young at the time, super exciting to build like the network effect there, and so I've been there ever since.
Thank you. So why don't we jump straight to the point here? Because we want to make sure that we deliver as much as possible to the audiences. So at Factomind, as a subsidiary of Hashed, specialized in data analysis, we do look into the user engagement. Whenever there's a new collaboration being announced, whenever there's a new partnership announced for the portfolio companies, and we see the user reactions can be very different from time to time. So I want to ask to the speakers here, what makes a good partnership? What are some examples of the good collaboration or partnerships? Could be potentially could be yours, could be someone else's. Why don't we start from the Mark this time?
Yeah, sure. I guess to start, I want to say that there are a lot of low-value partnerships in this space, which means there's a lot of hype around, like every project partners with other projects. Like we work with Kudasai, but I wouldn't call that a true partnership. You know, we leverage each other. We're a customer of Kudasai. Mm-hmm. But to me, a partnership is where more product integration driven. So to give you an example, the staking protocols working with other assets. For us, we're starting to support a lot of alternative assets on the platform. And so to me, that's a true partnership because there's product-driven integration and there's value on both sides. I think the space overall is too quick to call something a partnership. Like if we integrate with CoinMarketCap, for example, I wouldn't call that a partnership. I'm sure they agree as well. And then also when you work with the L1s and L2s, they're pretty adamant about making sure that you don't call these things a partnership, partly because the nature of this space is supposed to be permissionless, right? Anyone who wants to deploy on any chain or integrate with any product should be able to do so without some kind of formal partnerships. I think there's a lot of synergy in working directly with these projects, but partnerships is a word that's probably thrown around too loosely in this space.
Completely agreed. A lot of partnerships, appearing very frequently, but there are only a few impactful ones, right? How about your opinion, Pudding?
Well, actually, as he said, it's a still small world in this Web3 world. So we need to acquire more people from the outside. As you know, now the Japanese governments are bullish to Web3 field. So now the Web2 company, many Web2 company wants to get into this field. So making the partnership, you said we have to make the partnership with the Web2 companies around there. So now we made a community for the Web2 companies too, and they don't know about the Web3 things, so we're educating them also. And we need to involve the many big companies to increase the people to get into this Web3 field. That's the way we need to do it, I think.
Your turn?
Yeah, so exactly. That's the point I want to actually mention this time. And then Web 2 and Web 3 cross-border collaboration means some key, especially from Japan, where there's government and there's a big corporates like Sony, Toyota is also in Web3. So, why it's good for Web2 and Web3? For Web2 company, it's gonna be the new business model, right? So, for example, they haven't had like any monetization model. In the digital world, they can like mint the NFT and they can sell it. That's gonna be like huge revenue stream, and also they can give to their existing users, their cut aging companies by using blockchain technology. And for Web3 native IP or Web3 native project, that's also good collaborate with the Web2 because obviously we can onboard more Web2 users to the community, and also collaborating with a Web2 company, let's say collaborating with the Toyota, Sony, or Casio, could give you really nice credibility. That also, encourage Web3 existing investors to invest in you. I think, that's my opinion.
I guess I don't need to rehash too much. I just want to emphasize the point about depth versus breadth on partnerships. Kind of like what Mark said, there's so many superficial partnerships that are, you've got an account on an exchange and, it's a collaboration. That's not a collaboration. And I think it harms trust for users. So when users see substance behind a partnership, they see that there's something mutually beneficial to both parties and there's value added that couldn't happen without them working together directly. I think that's really what you want to strive for. We do have something called CMC Labs. I'd encourage people to take a look if they're interested, where we have very in-depth partnerships with companies. Projects can also apply if they want to consider working with CMC Labs. So that's an opportunity. And those partnerships are very in-depth. They're certainly not the superficial type.
I saw some projects were using the AWS and said that we made a presentation with Google.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of I've seen people saying that we are partners with AWS and GCP when they got like $100K grant from them. So, and it's true. I think these folks that covered most of the points. We have seen this a lot. People coming for partnership requests, and then it's all about like posting on Twitter. The first thing they ask for is like, can you share your brand collaterals? And they post on Twitter, and after that, there's no talk of any kind of real integration. So it's very important to, as David was mentioning, like for trust, because people see through these things. And when they see a partnership just for the sake of it, they know that, something is not right. So it's very common in Web3, but people are becoming more and more aware. Now I talk to a lot of founders who are very explicitly trying to avoid these kind of partnerships, which have no meaning or depth to it. In terms of favorite partnership, I kind of agree with what some of the people said here, that the ones where Web2 and Web3 come together, because Web3 brings the user, Web2 brings the user and access, a lot of scale, and Web3 brings the technology. So my favorite was actually Pudgy Penguin and Walmart. It became such a big rage in the US. People were actually going to the Walmart stores, 10 miles, 15 miles away just to catch a glimpse and buy their favorite Pudgy Penguin. So looking forward to more of these. There was recently one between Stepan and Adidas, which is also very interesting and also very relevant. So love to see more of these relevant real partnerships in Web3.
Thank you for your insights. I think these points make natural drift to our next question, because we've already seen how a loosely defined term, quote unquote, the partnership can introduce a challenge to the intrinsic value of the collaboration in this industry. What are some other challenges when it comes to user acquisition of the Web3 industry? And would love to hear about some similarities in between a Web3 and a Web2, or what are some unique features, unique challenges that we are facing in our Web3 industry. Why don't you take opposite turn here this time?
Sure. So we have been running Web3 ad network for the last almost 10 months now. It's been live. And we see a set of like unique challenges as well as some of like challenges which exist in Web2 as well. And the biggest challenge, which is very real and unique to Web3, is the lack of benchmark or expectation setting. So a lot of advertisers, they come to us and they're like, we want to acquire this, but they don't know what is a success for an ad campaign. They don't have a real benchmark, which is different in Web2 because, there are very set CPMs and CPIs and CPAs and all of that, right? So it becomes very challenging for us. And what is like a bigger challenge for us is that a lot of these Web3 projects, they come after running a bunch of quests, these rewarded quests. And I'll tell you why that is a problem. Because rewarded quests, for few of you who don't know, the way it is set up is that, users, they perform a small task for you, maybe like follow on Twitter or Discord or retweet or take some action, download your product, and in exchange, they get some rewards. Now, the problem, it all sounds very harmless and fun, but the problem here is that it ends up attracting a lot of bots and airdrop farmers and reward farmers, right? So what ends up happening is that these quests, they perform really well just because of the nature. So the more the rewards, the better they perform. Sometimes overnight, people get like 50K plus Twitter follows on their account and, 100K plus downloads. Now, it is very, very dangerous because you end up acquiring a lot of users who don't add any value to your product. But at the same time, you get clouded by these great numbers. And then when you actually come to like a legit user acquisition channel like ours or like others, you expect the same kind of performance. So it becomes a very big challenge for us, and which I would say is very unique to Web3. But it happens in Web 2 as well. Wherever there is reward, there is farming. But in Web 2, it's a little bit more balanced. Web 3 is very much skewed towards these rewarded quests as a means for user acquisition. So that is one of the biggest challenges that we face, which is like expectation setting and educating advertisers on what to expect. The second is the problem of retention. Now, a lot of Web3 projects that come to us, they don't have a well-defined use case, they don't have the best user experience, and they want to run ads. We can send people to their platform, but we cannot magically make people stick because you don't have a product or you don't have a good user experience, right? So the natural consequence of that is that a lot of these projects, they see poor retention because of that. So I would say these two are what we have seen to be some of the biggest challenges when it comes to user acquisition and helping these projects actually acquire user in a legit and sustainable manner.
And that's a little bit more unique challenge.
Very unique,
Web3,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'll give a relatively short answer, but I do want to give the perspective that I think marketing and user acquisition is not that different. And even though there are absolutely, the incentive example is a perfect one, nuances that make things quite different. Obviously, you want to fish where the fish are, and in crypto, that's going to be in communities like Discord and Telegram more so than in, other traditional industries. But generally speaking, I think what I've noticed is that a lot of projects neglect traditional marketing channels as if they don't apply to crypto users, and that's a big mistake. Email works. Organic works. So work on your technical SEO. Paid, very difficult, and things get more and more expensive. But generally speaking, if you have a clear idea of what a conversion is and what it's worth, paid works. At Agoda, I spent 7 years there. Agoda was built on doing the best paid marketing in the travel industry, and that's what propelled it to be a very big company today. It's one of the biggest travel tech companies. And you can do that, but you need to know the lifetime value of your customer. You need to know how well you convert. But again, that's a traditional thing. It's not brand new. So we shouldn't overthink it, I guess, is the one takeaway that I would want to land.
Yep, the basic skill set, right?
Absolutely.
I totally agree with you. So, for example, we're actually helping a lot of international Web3 gaming to come to Japanese market, right? And usually we also do some traditional, digital marketing or Web2 gaming influencer on YouTube. And then that actually sometimes really works. Some of the game we actually supporting, that's a French card game. And we actually got 1/3 of users from, Web2 traditional KOLs actually. So I feel like people kind of oversee that aspect. And then we also do help Japanese local games to acquire some, users in South Asia. And for that, running the ads on X was pretty effective. The CPI was $1 or $2, which is not bad for Web3 games. So we have to take that seriously. Maybe you can do the TikTok or Instagram, which some brands already do, like Illuvium or Pudgy Penguin. That's the one thing I want to mention. And also, it's same. Localization is pretty important, right? Web3, everything is on digital, so which means you can target up anyone in the global as long as you will comply with a local law. But language, communication channel. For example, Japanese use Line, which is the same in Thailand, I think, but like Korean people use a Kakao. So you take serious about this difference between region and then the localized and the language communication channels are pretty important, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone said about those things. So for me, maybe message show these things. For the users, the Web3 users want the money to come to the Web3 field. So
we do.
Maybe if there's some kind of the killer application like Stepin, thanks. If it comes, the many user will come eventually. So for the company, they need to make those popular application. And for the companies, there's a problem that in Japan, they're so regulated about the trading the cryptocurrencies that if you don't have the exchange license, you cannot make the DEXs also. So we need to change that. So that's maybe the challenge in Japan recently.
Yeah, I think I echo what everyone talks about in terms of being very incentive-driven marketing right now. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it helps you bootstrap your community user base, and then hopefully you have a product that'll deliver value to the users, and then you can kind of check with on-chain attribution to see what your lifetime value is, what your churn rate is, which I think for a long time has been neglected in Web3, but we're starting to catch up to Web2 standards. One of the things that I've always thought was super unique to Web3 is that when you launch a product, you're global from day one. And that's very different from Web2, right? Because Web2, you do regional rollouts. I remember many years ago in Web2, when you launch a new consumer app, you actually start for US apps, you start in New Zealand because it's a market that has similar kind of psychographic to the US and user activity to the US, but it's a very controlled market. And then you once you do your testing there, a lot of these apps would expand within the US. And then when they grow, they become like a global company like Facebook or whatnot. The biggest challenge for Web3 is from day one, your users are coming from every market in the world. And so because of that, you need to be able to localize your content, but also you have to prioritize your marketing strategies and your resources depending on what market is the best fit for you at the moment. But I would say, everyone starts with this English language market, as they call it. But I think pretty quickly we expanded to markets like Japan, Korea, all across Southeast Asia, CIS region. And so it does present a lot of unique challenges, but also opportunities.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the problem in Japan too, because the Japanese people are very conservative and have to control the applications, the Web2 company. So that's a good point, but also the problem in Japan too.
That's why we're working with you guys.
Yeah, that Mark just brought up a great point. Localization and globalization have to simultaneously be implemented when it comes to the marketing, right? General approaches has to be prioritized, but at the same time, localization cannot really be disregarded anyway.
And just one maybe small thing to add to that is that gatekeeping is a fantastic strategy for a lot of product launches. So whether it's gatekeeping in terms of a customer segment within a market or finding some way to basically decide that this is really what you're going to target, that can be a great way to maybe give yourself a little bit less trouble from the fact that you're global from day one, but also attract the specific users that you're interested in.
Right. Why don't you try to expand the point a little bit and move to try to move to the next question. We talked about how important it is to to critically think about the user acquisition. We talked about geographic focus and a global scale business approach. One potentially good strategy to bootstrap the community or your user acquisition strategy is to generate really, really in-depth, helpful educational contents, right? We try to, especially when it comes to the new industry, especially when it comes to a new product, you try to attract users by persuading them from a highly educational perspective. Could you elaborate what makes a really good educational effort? What makes a good educational content when it comes to the Web3 industry? Why don't you start from the Mark once again?
Yeah. So on the education side, I think this is a project that everyone pursues, right? But the challenge is being very defined and intentional, meaning targeted, right? So the mistake that we made early on with SynFutures is we created this general educational hub that taught everything from blockchain to DeFi to advanced trading techniques. Now, a lot of this isn't applicable to our users, especially general blockchain coursework, because the barrier for new users to get into a platform like SynFutures is quite high, right? So we're targeting them to top of funnel. So we spent a lot of time creating all this content, realizing that, yeah, it helps us with some of our SEO rankings maybe, but it's not driving any true value to the platform. It's not driving any conversions. And so I think the thing that projects have to think about is, why am I doing this educational push? And who am I trying to target with this? There are a lot of great general content out there already. Binance Academy, CMC has great educational content. But for us, we're a very niche product and we understand that. So being able to define that audience and curating the content around that core audience is the most important thing you can do.
Is that safe for AMA and because there are different types of education contents, right? There is AMA, but at the same time, there could be a written content on Medium, right? Are there differences between the two?
Yeah, I think it's a little different because AMAs are more, for us, it's more brand driven. So we're using it as a way to drive brand awareness. User acquisition is great, but I think when it's own content, you can be more intentional with your strategy.
Thank you.
Well, as I said, that we put emphasis on the education, and I know that there's two aspects that I have to tell them. One is about the blockchain technologies. What is blockchains? Why we have to use blockchains, and what is how we use the blockchains and use case. And we have to educate them at the first. And the second one is we need to educate the trend, the atmosphere of the Web3. It's so different from the Web2. You have to, because the Web3 speed is so fast. The trend is changing. Now, it's very different from the last year. I didn't know the name of the modular blockchain or something like that, the DePIN or real world assets, but they're becoming the buzzword and they're trending. But when the Web2 company comes to that field, it's too late. So we need to tell that it's very fast in this field and need to educate them more faster. Yeah, we have to tell them we have to move fast. So we put emphasis on the newest trend and also the fundamental things. We try to do those make educational contests.
Velocity is a key, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Kousei-san.
And I think Kudasai is always doing a great job for that. And
Thanks.
and so yeah, especially in Japan because of those obviously Web3 industry is moving so fast, so fast, too fast, even for us, And they always try to catch up with the latest trend and then disseminate the information to Web2 and also government too, which is really helpful. And especially Japan has a language problem always. Just to be a gap, 1 month, 2 months, even half a year for trend. For example, DePIN. I mean, we know that the concept right now, but it's gonna be big maybe in half a year,
Yeah, half a year.
or in 1 year, to be honest, that late. So as a kind of educator, we think narrow the gap. I think that's our mission. And to do that, well, Web3 too much technology jargon and a financial jargon. To be honest, everyday people, too much for them. Yeah. So I think, if we cannot avoid using that term, at least we should try to make some entertaining way to tell that. For example, from Japan, we can use a manga style and also anime style. Well, so there's a really famous Japanese Web3 game called Koin It's not launched yet, but they're super engaging. So what they do is they draw the news about, let's say, FTX thing or ETF thing in Hong Kong in manga style, in comic style, so that Japanese people, Web2 can also kind of, try to, give a shit, actually, try to understand what's going on. So I think that kind of personalize the way you tell, the way you educate is pretty important, I think.
For addition, yesterday my friend asked me, I want to start BRC20 project. It's half a year late.
Yeah.
Right, tone and matters always matter. So it's a efficient user acquisition strategy if done in a proper way, right? How about
I guess I'll add 2 quick points to not rehash things. I totally agree with these guys. One is that people have less patience even in crypto, I think, than with other products. Generally speaking, people don't have a lot of patience to listen to onboarding things and stuff like that. But in crypto, even less so, because a lot of people, they're afraid that if they spend too much time on one thing, they might miss on another thing. So anything that's too lengthy is just not worth it. Spend the time to make it short and sweet and easy. And the second thing that I'd say is everyone learns in different ways. So some people are visual learners. Some people learn with videos. Some people learn by reading. And so you can't assume that if you've got one format of educational content that it's going to reach all users. I can tell you definitively that CoinMarketCap users love educational content. Pretty much every user we interview tells us that they look at news and they look at educational content more so than you'd believe. Sometimes I question it, but they definitely want that kind of content, but they don't necessarily have the time or patience for it, or the formats that they seek.
do user educational contents often lead to higher user retention, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a product that's called Learn and Earn, which is a little bit back to the sort of task-based system where you learn a little bit about a project and then you complete some tasks. And these kinds of projects or these kinds of sort of task-based things versus things where you just have to check in and follow on social media have a tendency to lead users to adopt a project much, much more so because they've been forced in this case to take the time to learn a little bit about the project.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, I would add that definitely, creating educational content help. We have seen that when an advertiser comes to us with no such content on the platform versus when they have done some of these educational content on the platform, their performance of the ads and campaigns, they differ significantly, with the latter doing much better. I would say, when they talk about crypto mass adoption and they say that it'll happen when our grandmothers are able to use it, that's going to happen with these kind of content. And 2 things are most important, I would say. One is simplifying some of the terms, like some of the folks alluded to. There's a steep learning curve for anybody who is not exposed to Web3, so making it as simple as possible. So one is simplification and the other is gamification, to making the learning process easier, so that it's not like you're sitting and watching a 5-minute onboarding video, so making it more fun. So something like Learn and Earn, I agree, has done really well. I've seen some of the content on CMC. I've also seen some of the content on Coinbase. Also, there's this platform, there used to be a platform called Rabbit Hole, which used to host a lot of Learn and Earn kind of content, which used to do really well. It's interesting how crypto and Web3 in general, they're adopting these things. And I definitely agree that they help if you're looking to reach out to a large audience.
Thank you. I think just to wrap up the session, I think user acquisition in the Web3, based on what I just learned from today's session, is very challenging and interesting at the same time, because we have to think about globalization, we have to think about localization, we have to think about the contents, product diversification. But at the same time, user, investor, builders, they are all the same. We have to equate all the subject in the industry. So it's a challenging, but I guess it's a rewarding and interesting journey. Thank you very much for all the insights that all of you shared today. Please give these speakers a warm round of applause. And thank you for listening today.